The afternoon sun filtered through the lace curtains in Julie's apartment. At 70 years old, she observed the photographs on the living room console. Her wrinkled fingers gently traced the frame that held the photo of her late husband, Arthur. 10 years had passed since his departure, but the memories remained as vivid as the scent of lavender she still wore. His favourite. Julie was an elegant woman, with always well-groomed grey hair and blue eyes that held the vivacity of a woman who had fully enjoyed every stage of life. After raising 3 children and watching her 5 grandchildren grow up, her existence had become quiet, filled only by the book club on Wednesdays and occasional visits from family. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Sophie, her youngest granddaughter, a 19-year-old journalism student, and an adventurer by nature. "Grandma, I have a surprise for you," Sophie announced, her voice brimming with excitement. "I got 2 weeks off and I want to take you on a trip, just the 2 of us." Julie smiled, feeling a wave of affection. "Where would we go, dear?" "To a town in the countryside. There's a wonderful inn surrounded by mountains and a crystal-clear lake. The place is called Serene Valley." Julie felt her heart skip a beat. The name stirred a whirlwind of long-dormant memories. "Serene Valley," she repeated, her voice almost a whisper. "Do you know it?" Sophie asked, curious. "I've been there. A long time ago," Julie replied, her mind already travelling to a summer 50 years ago when she was just 20 years old. Julie had gotten engaged to Arthur at 19. He was the son of the local banker, a promising young man with a bright future ahead. Everyone said they would be the perfect couple, he with his security and defined ambitions, she with her kindness and creativity as a piano teacher. But 6 months before the wedding, a disagreement about where they would live after the marriage culminated in an intense argument. Arthur wanted to move to the capital, while Julie wanted to stay close to the family. "I can't sacrifice my career, Julie. I thought you understood that," Arthur had said, his firm tone revealing his frustration. "And I cannot abandon my parents and everything I have here," she replied, tears streaming down her face. "Perhaps we are too different." That night, the engagement was broken. Julie returned the ring, feeling as if her world was crumbling. Her parents, worried about their daughter's sadness, organised a family trip to Vale Sereno, a small town known for its natural beauty and hospitality. The Blue Mountain Inn was a charming family establishment. Built with rustic wood and wide verandas, it offered views of a lush valley where a lake mirrored the sky like a perfect reflection. The aroma of fresh bread mixed with the scent of garden flowers, creating a welcoming atmosphere from the very first moment. In the large hall, families gathered for meals served at long communal tables. Lively conversations filled the air during breakfast, while plans for the day were shared. In the evening, the hall transformed into an entertainment space with musical performances, games and dances. It was during one of these dinners that Julie saw him for the first time. Alexander was serving the tables, with a genuine smile and intense green eyes that seemed to shine under the soft light of the chandeliers. His brown hair fell carelessly over his forehead, giving him a nonchalant and charming air. "First time in Vale Sereno?" he asked, while serving an aromatic soup at Julie's table. "Yes," she replied timidly, feeling an inexplicable warmth in her cheeks. "Then it's my duty to ensure it won't be the last," he smiled, making a small bow before moving on to the next table. The next morning, Julie was walking alone along the lake's edge when she found Alexander sitting on a pier with a sketchbook in his hands. "Can I see?" she asked, approaching with curiosity. He showed a detailed drawing of the mountains reflected in the water. "I study architecture at the university," he explained, "but during the summer I help my parents at the inn. It's the family business for 3 generations." In the days that followed, Julie and Alexander became inseparable. He showed her secret trails in the mountains, a hidden waterfall where they swam in the cool waters, and the best spot to watch the sunset. Each moment together deepened the connection between them. At night, when Alexander wasn't working, they danced in the hall. Julie felt like she was floating in his arms, as if the world around them disappeared. The music, the laughter, the touch of hands. Everything seemed more intense, more alive. "I've never felt anything like this before," Alexander confessed one starry night when they were sitting in the garden after everyone had retired. "It's as if I've known you for a long time." Julie felt the same way. With Arthur, everything had always been planned, predictable. With Alexander, every moment was a discovery, an adventure. He talked about his dreams of designing houses that integrated with nature, of traveling the world seeking inspiration. Julie shared her love for music, her desire to open a small piano school. On a rainy afternoon, sheltered in the property's old barn, they shared their first kiss. It was tender, hesitant at first, then passionate, as if sealing a silent promise. "Stay with me," he whispered against her lips. "We can build something together, here or anywhere." On Julie's last night of her stay, under a star-studded sky, they made plans. She would return home, organize her affairs, and come back in a month. Alexander would wait for her, and together they would decide their path. "I promise I'll come back," said Julie, her eyes reflecting the stars and her words laden with sincerity. But Julie never returned. Upon arriving home, she found Arthur waiting for her, standing by the gate, his shoulders slightly hunched as if bearing the weight of many decisions. "I got the transfer," he said with a shy smile, his eyes fixed on hers. "The local agency accepted me. I can stay. For you." Julie stopped, feeling a chill run down her spine. His words, once eagerly anticipated, now sounded different. What would have once been a reason for joy now stirred a deep confusion in her heart. "You did this for me?" "Yes," he replied tenderly. "I realized that none of my plans make sense if they don't include you." She forced a smile, but her chest felt heavy. The image of Alexander invaded her thoughts. The intense green eyes, the warmth of his hand, the world they seemed to have started building together. A part of her wanted to run back. Another part knew that moment demanded more than fleeting emotions. That night, locked in her room, Julie cried in silence. She weighed every memory, every promise made under the starry sky of Vale Sereno. She thought about her future with Arthur, the planned life, the family she cherished so much. She also thought about the unknown, the brief but overwhelming passion that had made her feel more alive than ever. In the morning, she made her decision. She treasured the memory of Alexander as an unforgettable summer, but chose the path she knew, the love that had proven itself, the security of home. Julie married Arthur the following autumn. They built a solid life with loving children and a cozy home. Arthur was a good husband, a devoted father. Together they faced challenges, celebrated achievements, and shared half a century of companionship. Julie never regretted her choice. She loved Arthur until the end, but occasionally, when the night was especially starry, she allowed herself to remember a pair of green eyes and an unfulfilled promise. "Grandma, is everything okay?" Sophie's voice brought Julie back to the present. "Yes, dear, just reminiscing about when I was there. It was a beautiful place." "It still is, though the website mentions that the inn has undergone some renovations recently. Shall we stay there then?" Julie hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Let's go. It will be interesting to revisit the place." 2 weeks later, Julie found herself in the passenger seat of Sophie's car, watching the familiar mountain landscape appearing on the horizon. Her heart beat faster as they approached. 50 years was a long time. The inn probably belonged to new owners now, and Alexander. Who could say where life had taken him? When the car stopped in front of the Blue Mountain Inn, Julie recognized the main structure, although a new wing had been added. The garden was more elaborate, with fountains and stone paths, but the flowers still grew abundantly, coloring the environment. At the reception, Julie felt a twinge of disappointment. The old solid wood counter, where Alexander's father used to welcome guests warmly, had been replaced by a modern design of granite and glass. The old photographs that decorated the walls had given way to abstract paintings in shades of blue and green. "Welcome to the Blue Mountain Inn," greeted a young receptionist with a professional smile. "Do you have a reservation?" "Yes, under the name of Sophie Winters," replied Julie's granddaughter. While Sophie managed the check-in, Julie observed the surroundings, looking for traces of the past. The aroma of fresh bread still lingered in the air, now mixed with more sophisticated aromatic essences. "The inn has been in the same family for almost a century," remarked the receptionist, noticing Julie's interest. "Mr. Reed insists on maintaining certain traditions even with the modernizations." Julie felt a jolt upon hearing the surname. "Reed? Is Alexander Reed still the owner?" The young woman nodded. "Yes, although now her son Thomas takes care of more of the management. Mr. Reed still supervises everything, especially the evening events in the hall." Julie and Sophie were led to a comfortable cottage overlooking the lake. After settling in, they spent the afternoon by the pool, where they met an enthusiastic group of ladies celebrating 60 years of friendship, and a couple with a young son who soon began chatting animatedly with Sophie. While her granddaughter socialized, Julie watched discreetly, searching for a familiar face. The image of Alexander remained clear in her memory, the expressive green eyes, the easy smile, the way he slightly tilted his head when interested in something. But how would she recognize that 23-year-old young man in the 73-year-old man he would be now? "Thinking about taking a dip, Grandma?" Sophie asked, sitting on the lounge chair next to her. Julie smiled. "No, just enjoying the view. It's so peaceful here." The receptionist mentioned there will be a special performance in the hall tonight after dinner, a band formed by the staff. Can we go? "Of course," agreed Julie, feeling a mix of anxiety and excitement. The event hall had been the heart of the inn where she and Alexander had danced many nights. Dinner was served in the same restaurant, Julie remembered, although the menu now offered more sophisticated options. The long communal tables remained, providing guests with the opportunity to share stories and make new friendships. After the meal, everyone headed to the hall for the presentation. The room was illuminated by soft lights, creating a cozy atmosphere. Chairs and tables had been arranged around a small dance floor, in front of a modest stage where musical instruments awaited. Julie and Sophie found seats near the stage. The lights dimmed, and a figure stepped onto the stage. A tall man, with completely white hair but an elegant posture, wearing dark trousers and a blue shirt that highlighted his eyes, still intensely green, still capable of lighting up an entire room. "Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you here and—" Alexander abruptly stopped, his gaze meeting Julie's in the audience. For a moment, time seemed to suspend itself. 50 years vanished in a single look of recognition. Quickly recovering, he continued, "Julie, it's good to see you again. Well, tonight we will have the special performance by the inn staff band. I hope you all enjoy it and dance a lot." The band started playing, a soft melody that soon drew several couples to the dance floor. Sophie looked at her grandmother with a puzzled expression. "Grandma, what just happened? How does he know you?" Still fixated on Alexander, who was now talking to some musicians, Julie briefly told her granddaughter her story, the summer romance, the broken promise, the life that followed without looking back. Sophie widened her eyes. "This is amazing! I need to know all the details later, but now, Grandma, you need to talk to him." At that moment, Alexander approached their table. Up close, Julie could see the marks of time on his face, deep lines around his eyes and mouth, which spoke of both laughter and sadness. But his smile remained the same, warming her inside as it did the first time. "Good evening, ladies. Julie, would you grant me a dance?" he asked, extending his hand. Julie was momentarily speechless, feeling like she was 20 years old again. "She does accept," replied Sophie, giving her grandmother a gentle nudge. On the dance floor, Alexander's hand on Julie's waist was firm, respectful. They moved with the grace of those who knew the music and life well. "Alexander, I'm sorry for not coming back and—" Julie began, her voice trembling with restrained emotion. "Julie, you don't need to apologize," he interrupted softly. "We were reckless youths. I had nothing to offer back then. We were just young dreamers." While dancing, Alexander talked about his life. He got married a few years after Julie left, to a teacher who had come to teach in the town. They had 3 children, and his wife passed away 5 years ago. He continued to manage the inn, gradually expanding it. "Thomas, my oldest son, is trying to modernize everything," he commented with a resigned smile. "After he renovated the reception area, I put my foot down. I said I wanted to keep the rest as it was before. Some things deserve to be preserved." "I completely understand," Julie agreed. "Some places hold memories too precious to be changed." In the following days, Julie and Alexander rediscovered each other. They walked the same trails, now more slowly, sharing stories about children and grandchildren. They laughed at old memories and created new ones, this time with the wisdom of the years they had lived. On the eve of Julie's departure, they sat on the same pier where they had first talked. "You know," Alexander began, "I spent a lot of time wondering what it would have been like if you had come back." "So did I," Julie admitted. "Not that I was unhappy. Arthur was a good man. We had a wonderful life together. But sometimes I wondered, what if—" he completed, taking her hands in his. "Julie, what if we didn't say goodbye this time? What if you stayed?" The proposal caught Julie by surprise. She remained silent for a moment, thinking about her current life. Her children were settled, with their own families. The grandchildren were already adults, following their own paths. Her apartment in the city was comfortable but lonely. "That would be very bold," she finally replied, a smile playing on her lips. "At 70, what do we have to lose?" he laughed. "I think it's time for us to be a little bold, don't you think?" That night, Julie spoke at length with Sophie, who was thrilled with the idea. "Grandma, this is perfect. You deserve this chance, this new beginning." The next day, Sophie left alone, promising to return with more of her grandmother's belongings in the coming weeks. Julie stayed behind, this time fulfilling the promise made half a century ago. 6 months later, the garden of the Montana Azul Inn was decorated with white and blue flowers. Chairs arranged in a circle surrounded a small gazebo where Julie, radiant in a light blue dress, and Alexander, elegant in his grey suit, exchanged vows in front of their emotional family members. 50 years ago, we made promises that time and circumstances prevented us from keeping, said Alexander, his voice steady despite the emotion. Today, I promise to make the most out of these remaining years. And I promise to never leave again, Julie replied, smiling through her tears. Some stories deserve a second chapter. As the newlyweds sealed their commitment with a kiss, the guests applauded. Sophie, standing next to her uncles and cousins, watched her grandmother with admiration. Julie had taught her that it's never too late for happiness, that love knows no age, and that sometimes, even after 50 years, a promise can finally be fulfilled. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.